Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about G.I. Joe deck building game. And this is designed by T.C. Petty III, who also has the best name on the planet. The artwork is by Robert Atkins, and it is published by Renegade Game Studios.
The year, 1992. The person, me. The age, like 7.
Like 7 or 7?
The activity, going over to your friend's house, having a high C.
High C, yes.
And playing with G.I. Joe action figures.
Yeah, no, can't relate to that one. You had me.
Nothing is better than G.I. Joe action figures when you are growing up in the 80s and 90s. And playing this game brought out so many of those old classic memories that I had forgotten I had. So yeah, there have been other G.I. Joe games that have been attempted to bring back those memories. But this one, did it do the job? First, let me show you how to play it, and then we'll talk about that. All right, here's our setup for the G.I. Joe deck building game. The first thing we need to do is we need to decide what mission we're going on. We're going on mission 1 or mission 2. Mission 1 is a very classic mission based on G.I. Joe history. Mission 2 is a little bit more sci-fi-y. Each mission is divided into 3 acts. What we're going to do is, out of the 5 Act 1 cards, we're going to shuffle them up. We're going to put out 2 of them. And then we're going to finish by putting the Act 1 finale on top of that stack. Same thing with the Act 2. We'll put 2 of those cards out there, followed by the Act 2 finale. Then, of course, same thing. 2 out of the 5 Mission 3 cards, followed by the Mission finale. We now have our mission deck. We're going to flip it over, and we're ready to go. What we're going to do is we're going to reveal the next card of the deck. So that way, this is the one we're facing, then you kind of see an idea of what's coming up ahead in the future. This has a number 2 on it, which means we're going to come across 2 complications whenever we try to attempt that mission. So we'll grab these off the deck, and we'll set them next to it. Complications that are assigned to a mission at the beginning of that mission are going to be face down. Throughout the game, whenever it says to draw a complication, those ones you resolve immediately. The complication cards can be anything. They could be a one-time penalty, maybe something like moving up on the track over here, which is a bad thing, and I'll get to that in a minute. Maybe they bring out one of the Cobra officers, which you have to battle. Maybe they'll bring out Cobra battalions or Cobra troopers. You never know what they're going to get, but you do have to resolve them when you draw them off the top of the deck. The mission cards are all going to kind of operate similarly. It's going to give you a little bit of plot going on here. It's also going to tell you what's going to happen if you succeed or fail this mission. It's going to tell you some other things. Like this one says, at the end of each round, draw another complication card. So that's terrible. But also, it says how you can defeat it. Well, we're going to need 4 strength of successes in either recon and stealth over here. So we're looking for abilities that have recon and stealth. Well, how are we going to get those? All those cards right there in the middle, those are all cards that we can draw into our decks. This is, of course, a deck building game, so we're going to start with a weak deck of just kind of some basic starter cards, some basic starter Joes that don't have a whole lot of power to them. However, we're going to be able to buy those. When we buy cards in this game, they go directly on top of our deck. You're also going to be able to start with a starting leader in your deck. We've got, some of these classic leaders out here, Roadblock, Snake Eyes, Scarlet. In addition, what you can do over the course of the game is you can pay their costs in the top left in order to promote them. So this version of Scarlet is infinitely better than this version of Scarlet. But you're going to start with this and eventually turn it into this throughout the course of the game. We also have a little kind of a turn sequence card that's going to help us throughout the game. What happens at the beginning of your turn, what happens on your turn, what happens at the end of your turns, and all what's going to happen throughout the missions as well. It can be a really handy little aid there. Like I mentioned, when you buy these cards, they're going to go on top of your deck. We've got up here the name of our card. We've also got what it costs in the top left circle. In that star, in that lower number there, what that is what is that going to provide as purchase power on your next turn when you actually use it. We also got any special abilities it might have, and here it talks about the actual benefits that it's going to give you, those actual skills. So if you remember that card that talked about, we needed 4 recon and stealth. This one has 3 stealth on it right away, which is fantastic. So if we were to buy this, we would put it on top of our deck so it's ready to draw for our next turn, and then we immediately replace. We also have cards like the service rifle. This is always out there. There's a stack of them. This one costs 2, but it also provides 2 when you use it. And if it's part of a side mission, it gives you a wild skill, which is really nice. We also have our utility cards and our gear cards, which are going to kind of help modify things, maybe help us with our dice rolls along the way. All right, we've played a few hands here. We're ready to attack our first story mission card. Let's see what we have to do here. First, we need to take our vehicle that's parked in the hangar. We need to drive it all the way over to that mission. The card's going to tell us any special abilities it might have and also how many Joes this can carry. This particular one, our starting one, can carry 4, but doesn't have a whole lot of special abilities other than the fact that immediately after this mission, it can return to the hangar. All other vehicles, like the one we have out here, the Ram, if you were to purchase that, use it in the hangar, after the mission's done, it would have to go into the player who uses it, discards pile. However, the Vamp just keeps on going back to the hangar over and over again as our starting vehicle. We can hold 4 Joes on this mission, and this is also called a group mission. All the story cards are group missions. What that means is all the players around the table can help out with this. We obviously can't exceed the number of passengers on our vehicle, but still, if I've got 2, I've got my player across from me, they can also add in 2, and we can kind of defeat this together. Alright, so we need 4 successes of recon and stealth. We want to have our torpedo in here because remember he had a whole lot of stealth, so we're going to put that in the mission. We also have our generic Joes here. Basically, any of our Joes can become 1 wild. So even our torpedo here, he has 3 stealth and 3 martial arts. But if he was ever on a mission where he needed to provide, let's say, tracking or explosives, it could always, every single Joe can become 1 wild. So we're going to add in a couple more of these kind of generic Joes just so we have some extra wilds. Alright, so we have 5 skills going into this mission. It means we're going to roll 5 dice. Okay, that's not good. We only have 1 success. These stars are successes. These circles are misses, so we did not complete that. However, every single person who was a part of that mission, if they have a card that has an M in their hand, this particular one says if you have any kind of Joe on this mission, you can re-roll 1 die. So, we're still not going to make it because we're not going to get to 4, but we can re-roll that and it helps us out a little bit. We have 3 blank sides, 2 1 successes, and we have 1 side that has 2 successes on it. So you have about a 50% chance of getting a success or 2 on those dice. Like I mentioned, if there's a group mission, anybody can jump along with you. Whoever's active turn it is, they actually ultimately decide who's going to go on the trip. But also, we have those M cards, like I mentioned. As long as you have at least 1 Joe on the vehicle, you are also going to be able to play those M cards to help things out along the way. There are missions called side missions, and those can only be tackled by the person whose active turn it is. This particular mission... Alright, so if we had succeeded, our track over here, our threat tracker, would have been able to go down to, and we would have put the Baroness into play. She's one of the Cobra officers. But also, if we would have failed, the threat tracker would have gone up, and we still would put the Baroness into play. Of course, that's the whole point of the double agent thing. But at the end of each round, we also would have added complications in. These complications would have also been a part of that. This one says add Cobra battalions onto the board. This one says this is a precision strike that says at the end of your turn you have to raise the tracker. This takes 2 skills in order to beat, and they have to be vehicles. This is kind of goes on to a person. It's a side mission, so again, only 1 person can handle that. You're going to put it on someone, attach it to someone, and they're going to have to fight that off. Otherwise, every single round, this threat tracker is going to go up. So I've mentioned the threat tracker a couple of times. What is it? Well, this is kind of the whole point of the game. What's going to happen is, if we ever get to the very, very top of this, we lose the game. Along the way, we've got a little threat marker. It's going to keep on moving up. In the green section here, it moves up additionally. At the end of this, in the yellow section, we have to draw additional complications, or we have to draw these Cobra battalions in the red section. This is for a 3 to 4 player board. If we're playing with 1 to 2 players, it's a little bit different, but the point remains the same. It's always creeping up and up and up. If it ever gets to the very top, you lose the game. You want to try to play cards and manipulate things that are going to push it down in order to kind of keep surviving. Once things are going, there's going to be a lot of cards out there. Cobra troopers, we have Cobra officers, we have Cobra battalions, which are going to cover up cards over here. That's always bad news. We're going to have all these different side missions, and we're going to have story missions. So things are going to get really, really crazy. So we've got a little end of round kind of button here. One thing to keep in mind is at the end of every turn, you need to look around and see if any of the cards are going to kind of do any effects at the end of your turn. Once every player has finished their turns, then it goes to the end of the round. What you're going to do is you're going to activate any penalties from, in this order, story missions, card effects, and the threat meter. And then at the end of that, you're also going to raise the threat meter 1 time. So basically you have a whole lot of things going on here. You have to keep on manipulating that track so that it kind of gets pushed down, otherwise fighting off all the things that are pushing it up. You need to buy a variety of cards, that way you're able to kind of be versatile when you have all these different missions that you're up against. And you also don't want to run out of cards in our main deck as well. So there's 3 ways we can lose this game. If we ever have our threat meter get all the way to the top, we lose the game. If we ever have our Cobra battalions, they kind of cover up the cards. If there's ever 5 of them covering up cards and a 6th one needs to be placed, we lose the game that way as well. So we want to fight those off. And if our deck ever runs out, we lose that way. Well, how do we win the game? We win the game if we're able to get through this entire deck and we finish the very last finale of the 3rd act. If we're able to do that, still hanging on to those loose parameters, we're going to win the game. Now, this game is not easy, but let's say for some reason you have mastered it, you've got it all figured out. What you can do to make it harder is you can shuffle this deck of expert mode cards, and you can pluck one of them out. This particular one says, when a story mission enters play, add a Cobra battalion out there. Okay, that sounds awful. And if you beat that mode, guess what? Next time you play, you shuffle it up again. This time you draw 2 of them. And you keep on going until eventually, maybe, if you're an expert, you're going to get through all of these cards and be able to beat all the other win conditions that you need to or finish this game. One thing that can help you out in a 2-player game or a solo mode, there's also kind of a reserve board. What you can do with that is you can play basically 4 of the 5 cards in your hand, place one of the cards on this reserve board, and that way, your next turn, you'll be able to pluck that back out, and now you'd have a 6-card hand to be able to really tackle some of the more challenging villains.
I have to say that this game ramped up brilliantly. Like, you start with these missions, and they're, a little challenging, but you also don't have a really good hand. And by the time you make it to the 3rd mission, if you make it to the 3rd mission, it is so challenging, but you've also weeded out most of the terrible cards from your hand, but you might be getting more terrible cards in your hand. But it just had this really wonderful pace to it of how it started the game and how it progressed and how your deck matched the skill that you needed in order to compete with that. It just had a great progression towards it, to difficulty, to what you also had in your hand. It was excellent.
All right, so this game had multi-use cards, and usually what I mean by that in multi-use cards is, hey, here's this card, you can either use it for this, or you can use it for that. In this game, the multi-use was, you can use it for this, and that, which I really liked. So you could go on a mission with these characters, you could manipulate the board, you could do all the different things you want to do with the actions on the cards, and then, after all that, even all the cards you used, you were still able to use them again to be able to purchase new cards and bring them into your deck. So I really enjoyed how you were able to use those decks both ways. It was double useful, and so every card you purchased had meaning to it besides just one or the other. You're constantly kind of evaluating how you wanted to cultivate your deck in both ways, which was nice.
And I thought this was a pretty unique take on a cooperative deck building game. We've played quite a few cooperative deck building games, and I felt like this one did something different. It had, first of all, it had those dice that you had to use on all of the missions to see whether or not you could succeed, and then depending on what the character's ability was whether or not, like, how many die you could roll, and also the fact that you were limited to how many Joes you could send on a mission depending on a vehicle, and that there were side missions that only you could do, and then group missions that everybody could do, but you still needed to take care of all of it. And I just thought it was let's just say, like, Ryan was excited about this and I wasn't because I'm like, we've done cooperative deck buildings and I don't care about the theme. I'm sorry for people who, like, really love this and have weird childhood memories when they're like 7 years old. But I was pretty impressed with it. That it took this theme, it took something that, like, we've seen before, but it was able to do something fresh with it.
This game is always a challenge. There's always this kind of this lurking level of peril.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Lurking level of peril.
It's constantly,
that needs to be on a t-shirt.
Right, yes. That describes me. No, not at all. Lurking level of hunger. So in this game, you are constantly being ramped up. Everything's kind of just getting increasingly more challenging as you go on. But at the same time, you're able to kind of, over time, get rid of things in your deck that you don't want, add in better and better cards. So you have these cascading waves of, like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose right now. It's like, oh, we survived. And now, we're going to smooth sail from here on out. Nope. Oh my gosh, we're going to lose. Oh my gosh, wait, hey, we got it under control. No, we're going to lose. So it just felt like this entire game was just you were constantly engaged emotionally, which was really, really exciting. You either like in fear of losing or like, oh man, we've got this.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And either way, you were just constantly on the edge of excitement, which I thought was really great, getting you that involved that constantly. And we saw it play out both ways too. We had games where I think the very first game we played actually was a game where we were like doing that whole like emotional roller coaster and we get to the final, and we're like, we're done, we lose, we need to roll this perfect crazy die roll or else we're done right here.
Guess and what then, we did, guys?
Boom, rolled whatever it was, like 10 hits or something bonkers. Yes. and we won.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The very next game we played,
I think it was the exact same thing. There's some situation where we need to have like this perfect series of events all come together. We're like, yes, we can do it again. And then we failed.
And it wasn't even just like a failure. It was like a mega failure. It was all circles. All circles all the time.
So the level of excitement and emotional investment is really strong in this game.
I do have to say, and this is just like, this isn't the game's fault, but this is something that happened to Ryan and I often, very often. So the main missions, they have this symbol on them to let you know how many complications get put on them. And inevitably, Ryan and I would be so focused on the text that was on the card and what the benefit or negative thing would be if you completed that mission, that almost every single time we went to go for that main mission, we forgot to flip over the complication cards. And it's not like a token. It's literal cards that are on top of that card. But for some reason, we were just so focused on the text or what ability we needed that we, gosh, I want to say like 80% of the time, forgot to turn over those complication cards and do what they said right away. So I don't even know how you would have like done anything different with that. That was just like what we were doing as gamers, but it happened all the time.
One thing I do want to point out too is this rule book is not great. There is a lot of hurdles you need to overcome when you're reading this rule book and you're learning it kind of cold. I mean, even during the setup, we're setting it up and there's like this, I'm setting it all up exactly according to the rules. Yeah. And then leftover stack of cards. I'm like, what is this? And I've played enough deck builders, so I had a pretty good idea. I'm like, this is probably a deck that is kind of just out there, and then you're able to buy with it. But it never said to like just put it out there. It never said to do anything with it. It never described what it was. Those words, I think it was service rifle, aren't listed in the rulebook.
No.
Anywhere at all. Like
it's in a picture.
It's in a picture.
But the text of it is nowhere. And
when you're setting up the missions, you have 2 regular cards you randomly grab plus the finale of that act. 2 regular cards in a finale, 2 regular cards in the third act finale. So you have these 9 cards that you stack together. But then there's a picture diagram explaining how to do that. And in the picture, there's 12 cards, not 9. I was like, oh my gosh. And those are just the 2 like really blatantly obviously ones. But there was actually kind of a lot of rules flubs in this. Thankfully on BGG, on Board Game Geek, there was a nice list of what all the mistakes were and how to fix them and like how to set it up and all those kinds of things. So some fans have come behind us. Thank you, fans.
Yes.
And made it better for us.
But a lot of them are intuitive. It's just like it's not spelled out.
Yeah, if you are a G.I. Joe fan and not a board gamer, you are going to buy this thinking you're getting this cool experience, and you are, but you're going to set up and you're not going to know what those cards are the same way we did.
Yeah.
You're not going to know what you're just have all these confusions. You're not going to have any resources to go to figure that out. You just need to have a clean rule book. Clean rule books you just have to have it. And this didn't, unfortunately. All that being said, how do we feel about this game?
Okay, everybody. Sit down. I have a story for you.
They're not like standing and watching this.
You don't know that. They could be going for a walk and listening to us.
That's true. So you want them to sit down in the middle of like the bike path or something?
Yes. Just go out to the side so people can pass you because that's the right thing to do. So anyway, we, just because of how scheduling and stuff worked out, like this, which is just like really typical for everybody across the world. Anyway, because of how scheduling worked out, we had to learn this game a bit later than I would have liked, way past my bedtime. And I was just like really frustrated, right? Because I wanted to go to bed, but I knew that we needed to learn this game and play it, a decent amount of times to be able to talk about it. Because there's different missions, you have to explore, you got to do a lot with it. So I'm frustrated while playing this game. And then like 2/3 of the way through, I'm like invested, right? I'm frustrated by how much I'm enjoying the game.
So that means you can't just like...
Because that means I have to finish it. I can't just go to bed. And this is coming from somebody who honestly does not care about G.I. Joe at all. But I was like... I was frustrated because I had to play it, and then I was frustrated because I was enjoying it, and I knew I wanted to go to bed, but I needed to finish it. I needed to finish the first story to see how it went. So, I feel like if you like deck building, and if you like G.I. Joe, this is kind of like almost an instant buy for you. If somebody like me, who could care two poops about this theme, I think he means two peeps, let me know in the comments below if you got that reference, then this is like for you.
Yes, I agree. The cooperative nature of it, the deck building nature of it, the combat, but not towards each other, towards the enemy.
Yeah.
And, with the theme, it all came together really nicely. As someone who, as a young G.I. Joe fan, I haven't, thought about G.I. Joes for, 15, 20 years or whatever, who knows. But seeing all those characters again brought back tons of memories. They had all those different things, all the different skills, the tactical and marksman, martial arts and explosives or whatever. Vehicle and all those things in the wild, obviously, skills. And all the characters matched up what their skills should be.
Yeah.
Everything felt really nostalgic and great. And it came together in a really nice game as well. Again, the rulebooks needed another once-over from the editing standpoint, but I think that if any of those things sounds good to you, definitely check out the G.I. Joe deck building game.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our content as it comes out. Until then, you can find us on TikTok, we're Ryan and Bethany. On Facebook, we're Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.